SHOT Show 2019 at the Nightcore booth with Albert. How you doing, sir?
Good to meet you, Stu.
Well, and actually we have just met. We've never met before. That almost sounds like one of those lines like, you don't know me, I don't know you, and we've never met, so this is going to be a totally candid interview. However, we have had a little brief chat before we started with the interview, and you gave me just a snapshot of a little bit of your background and what have you. And of course, I'm already familiar with Nightcore because I have quite a number of the light devices myself that I use from time to time. So I'll tell you what, can you give me just a snapshot background on the company, the origin, and just a little bit of history?
Okay. Well, Nightcore has been on the LED flashlight market since 2007. I actually work with Nightcore Store. We're U.S. distribution out of Austin, Texas, and we have been distributing Nightcore products throughout the United States since 2009. So Nightcore themselves, they are one of the most innovative companies in the LED flashlight market. They are the only company in the market that's actually won all of the 4 major design awards for their products. So year in and year out, our products are new, they're innovative, they're exciting. In addition to just the standard upgrades that you normally see from our tried and true lights, because the technology is better and the LEDs are better and the batteries are better, we introduce every year designs that are different than any other flashlights on the market. So we're going to show you some of that today.
Now I can attest in part to that. One of the, and this was some time ago, Nightcore had come out with a, I believe, a prototype line of, it was one of the very first AA driven LED small handheld lights that I ever purchased.
Okay.
And of course, you know, everybody was using the 123As, the CR, there's another small batteries that are odd duck that are not easily available in just your typical store. I picked up one of those on their first batch, and it's pretty well hard used at this point, but it does still run from time to time.
Sure.
And I still carry it. So that was my personal introduction to Nightcore. I can't remember what the model was, but it was my first introduction to Nightcore, and I believe it may have been one of the very first lights that Nightcore introduced some time ago. So products are made in Shenzhen?
Guangzhou, I believe. Guangzhou.
Okay, very good.
And I may say that completely wrong, so sorry about that.
Hey, you and me both, brother. We're both in that same lineup. So, and of course, a lot of folks are familiar with you. You make batteries. Well, do you make batteries, or do you have them made and then labeled?
Nightcore, no, Nightcore actually designs all the protection and circuitry around their batteries. So if you are familiar with the Nightcore batteries and chargers, are some of the most reputable in the industry. They have applications that go well beyond the tactical flashlights and the everyday EDC carry flashlights that you see today. Our batteries and chargers are extremely reliable. You'll see them as OEM equipment and medical instrumentation, proximity alerts, a lot of measuring information for industrial companies and things like that, because you don't want a battery that's going to fail. So Nightcore is one of the most reputable. The chargers are excellent, and we have a good variety too as well, especially in the charger and battery markets. We have chargers that are fast chargers, USB, USB-C capable, AC, DC, you name it, we've got it. So batteries and chargers, you know, some people may know how good Nightcore is in there, some people may not, but I'm just here to tell you there's some of the best out there. And
so because Nightcore, if I follow you correctly, designs the circuitry and also manufactures the batteries, they're right behind that product.
They are. Now, obviously,
what I'm getting at is it's not a matter of like getting a good or a bad batch from a battery manufacturer that's manufacturing as per your request or what have you. Yeah. So, and I know there are some companies that will be very cautious about the batteries that they do select from a batch and what have you, but Nightcores are coming from Nightcore.
Sure.
Okay, exactly. Very good. So let's go into 2019 then.
Okay. Well, I'm actually going to start back with a couple of lights that were introduced in fourth quarter of 2018.
Oh, and that's fine because, you know, obviously this is first quarter of 2019. We've had a year since the last SHOT Show. And so, yeah, let's go ahead and back up a little bit for any time since the last SHOT Show.
Awesome. So the first light I'm going to show you, Stu, is the Nightcore TEP. This follows in line with our very popular Keychain Light series, starting off with the tip and then the tinny. We now have the TEP, which is a Keychain Light, very compact EDC light. One thing you'll notice that's different about this little light is that It has a OLED screen on it. The OLED screen is going to give me real-time information about my lumen output, how much longer I have at that particular setting, and this particular little keychain light is actually capable of maxing out at 1,000 lumens.
Very good.
Now, like our other keychain lights do, this is also USB rechargeable via a micro USB port on the side. It does have a removable and very strong pocket clip for different ways to carry it. If you want to clip it to your hat, it's going to stay there and be nice and secure. At the rear,
basically turn it into a headlamp on a cap.
Exactly. At the rear, you have a place for your split rings or for your quick detach clips. You can even slide an O-ring, not an O-ring, a lanyard through there if you like as well.
Right.
So that is one of the newest lights that we've had on the market, introduced late fourth quarter 2018, Nightcore TUP, and it's been a really good seller for us.
What would MSRP be on this light?
MSRP right now is $64.95 on that in the US.
Okay, very good. And you know what? Do you know what the euro price would be? If you don't, that's okay. Don't worry.
I do not.
That's
I
okay.
do not know.
No worries.
It's a great light. I'm somebody who owns probably 40 plus flashlights, and I typically don't leave the house all the time with a flashlight until this one came out. I love it, and I carry it with me. It stays on my nightstand, it stays charged, and I find myself that I actually carry this with me every day because it's so convenient. When it's in your pocket or clipped to your belt, you don't even know it's there.
And the caveat on my question about alternate currencies, you're a U.S. guy, you're out of Texas, you're not going to really be, you don't do a lot of business with folks in Europe.
The one thing I forgot to mention about this, I think is really important, Stu, is I know a lot of people with their keychain lights, depending on how they carry it, they put it in their pocket or they actually have it on their keychain light. Being able to keep the light from accidentally turning on is important.
It's very important, and let me just jump in there because you mentioned that until this light came along, even though you're a flashlight guy, I mean, you are a distributor, a dealer,
sure.
You weren't carrying a flashlight daily, like in the daytime per se. I'm a guy, I've got at least one, maybe two flashlights, at least, possibly small ones, with me at almost all times.
Right.
And of course, others in bags, regardless of the time of the day or night. And so this was something that gravitated to you as being easy. Now, you mentioned accidentally activating the light, and that's an issue that I have had from time to time with pocket type lights that are clipped to my pocket or clipped to my belt or what have you. And you're saying that this has some type of a safety feature?
Yeah, it's an interesting feature. So in order for me to, it's got two different lockout features, and it's a two-step process to lock it out. So in order for me to get this to go into lockout mode, I'm going to do one short press followed by a long press. So I've got to do a short press, release, press hold, and let's see if I got it right. Well, I didn't have the light on first, so
yeah, the light has got like a moonlight, and you're also getting an LED reading.
I'm not getting it.
That's okay. Yeah, it's still on. Okay, now it went off. Now it's back on moonlight, or whatever you folks would call the lowest setting.
There it goes.
Okay,
my delay was not enough on that.
Sure. So the light is off, and it flashed a lock symbol.
Yes,
correct?
that was it. That's in lockout 1. Now, lockout 1 is my preferred carry method because it won't accidentally turn on just by bumping or holding one particular button down and whatnot. But when I need to use it, I still have access to the turbo setting, which is 1,000 lumens, and I have that on momentary on by pressing and holding the top button even while it's in lockout 1. So in lockout 1, I can press and hold. As soon as I release, it's off. It still returns to lockout 1, as you can see there. So it's put it back in my pocket or on my keychain and not have to worry about it turning on and staying on.
So as long as that top button is depressed, it will remain on in turbo mode.
So now that I'm going to do this a little bit quicker and make sure I get it unlocked this time. So quick press, press hold. Now you see that is unlocking, that little key feature. Now I'm going to put this in lockout 2. So lockout 2 is done the same way. Quick press, press hold. And we'll, maybe you didn't do it. 1, 2. So now I'm in lockout 2, which is that full lockout mode. Won't be able to access anything with any press and hold on a single button. Even a double press and hold is not going to go ahead and unlock that. But if I do the step, quick and then hold, then I'm going to go ahead and unlock that particular light.
So in that mode, if it's in your gear bag or something like that, even though it's bouncing around, you're not going to get it accidentally going into that turbo mode on the temporary. And there's nothing worse than having the light in your pocket.
Right.
And then needing to use it, or just finding out that it's been on for the last 30 minutes.
And nothing's foolproof, but the little two-stage process is just a little help in the accidental turn-on operation. So having to do a press release and then a quick press after it makes it less likely for it to turn on. Obviously, there are ways that it could.
Right.
So if you're watching this out there, there's no one particular way we could absolutely prevent it from turning on.
Well,
so
Andrew, I appreciate your candor in that, because there's a lot of folks that would say, oh, there's no way that this is infallible. So I appreciate that candor. What's next up on the lineup?
Next up is something that's actually been out for several months now, and this is the newest in our Tiny Monster series, the Tiny Monster 10K. So the TM10K, this is a 10,000 lumen capable light. It's capable of producing 10,000 of lumens of light in 7-second bursts. So I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate here. I have instant access to the turbo from the rear button at any time, and it is bright. It's really hard to look at if this hits any kind of reflective surface, white or not.
Go ahead and point that up there.
Sure.
Yeah, that's incredibly bright. Not necessarily coming out on the camera per se, although you can probably tell by the washout.
Sure.
But, yeah.
So when I activate that turbo stew, you'll see actually a metered countdown that's the 7-second countdown. And the reason for that is this light's using 6 LEDs producing a tremendous amount of heat, and the light is smaller than the palm of my hand. So in order to protect the user and the safety of the light, make sure that it's going to operate correctly, it does have that timer on it so that you're not overheating the light and not putting the light or yourself in a dangerous situation. You can typically go right back into it, but as the light, as the heat builds up, the time it takes to recharge and be at a safe temperature to access turbo again, could increase over time. One of the great features though about this light is that the secondary mode or the high setting of the light is actually programmable. So you're used to the OLED screen if you've owned some of the other Tiny Monsters like the TM28 or the 26, giving me that information. Right now I'm in the high mode at 1,000 lumens. I'm going to go ahead and step it back to the 3 lumens, 100 lumens, the 300 lumen output, and back up to the 1,000 so you can see what it's capable of. But this high mode is actually customizable. I can actually program that to be anywhere from a range of 400 lumens on up to 2,000 lumens, depending on what my needs are. So if I value brightness over runtime and battery, I can set that at a much higher lumen output. But if I need the runtime, I can set it at 700-800 lumens, which is very usable, but it's going to preserve my battery life. So the way to do that is when you're in high mode, I'm going to go ahead and press and hold both buttons down. I'm going to see a flash of that light when it's ready to change. I think everybody saw that. And now you can see I'm just pressing the buttons, and you see the dial changing as I'm bumping up the intensity of the light on up to 2,000 lumens max. So one of the interesting features of the TM10K that makes it very practical to carry every day is that usable, customizable output for the high setting.
What battery source drives this light?
This has an internal lithium-ion rechargeable, and it is rechargeable via the USB-C port, so you can use this with Quick Charge 2.0, Quick Charge 3.0 USB adapters.
Are the batteries replaceable?
They are not replaceable outside of the factory.
Right. Okay.
So the TM10K with the internal sealed lithium-ion battery still carries a 2-year warranty under Nightcore, and it is serviceable after the fact, but it is not recommended to try to do it on your own. Obviously, you see there are screws and things in here where this light will come apart.
Right. But not advisable to be disassembling it on your own.
The battery itself is not intended to be replaced by the consumer.
So a field user, a person like myself, ideally if we wanted to use this light, obviously it would be supplemental to another light, but
Sure.
you'd want to have two, one that you'd be able to charge while you're using the other if you had to kind of have perpetual use.
Sure. Yeah. Obviously the battery's going to run out with it at some duration, no matter how you're using it, with it being internally rechargeable. One of the good things about it, though, is with the USB-C, if you are at a place where you can access a USB adapter, especially a quick charge adapter, you'll be able to get that light to full charge much faster than you could using a traditional micro USB port or vice versa.
Very good, Andrew. What do we have next on the lineup?
Next is actually in pre-production. This is the first time I've seen this particular light. Is here at SHOT Show 2019. This is the Nitecore P18, and we have an expected release date in March of 2019. You can see by the design it's a little bit different than a traditional tactical light, but it still carries a lot of the same characteristics. So this is actually the smallest 1800 lumen flashlight that still has a rear on-off switch, thumb switch, so to speak, at the back.
Right.
Now you can see,
and it's interesting because it's kind of offset. It's not the traditional thumb press at the back where you've got your battery source.
Sure.
If that's correct,
that is correct.
The battery. But I like that offset. It's interesting. It's a little unique.
So one of the things that I think we're all used to on a traditional, like a tactical tail cap, where there's several different varieties, is when you click, you feel it, you hear it, you feel it, you hear it. With the P18, this is a completely silent switch. So there is no noise or anything coming off that switch. So basically a half press on the switch is going to allow me to change the outputs. Full press is going to turn it on off. So on, half press, I'm changing the modes. Changing the modes, press and hold is going to allow me access to strobe. So it's very easy to use and completely silent on the switch. Another feature of the light, probably wondering what this little button does. This is an independently activated red LED, so that you can use that. So now we can take a good look at the front.
Right, yeah.
So you have the red LED capable for use at night, so you can keep your focus without losing your night vision.
Interesting, and if I'm watching that correctly, it's what I've heard people refer to as a forward clicky or a forward press in this case. So, and may I?
Absolutely.
Thank you. And I'm not using the.
So it does have a memory feature, Stu. So the last setting before I turned it off was in strobe mode.
Correct.
So I'm going to have to get it out of that strobe mode for me to go. Well, there we go.
Okay.
For me to go ahead and readjust it again.
I see.
So it does have memory features. So right now I'm in the, I believe, second to the highest setting. And if I shut that off, it should turn right back on to that same output.
So, and that's one of the things in the field too. There's nothing, well, there's a lot of things that are more frustrating, but it is a very frustrating issue to be in the field and on an adjustable setting light. If you're in that prime mode, say medium, let's say number 3 of the settings, and then you want to turn the light off. You know, you're using the light, and you want to turn the light off, and it's been off for more than, I think a lot of the settings are like within 1 minute. If you activate, it's back to that same setting. But after a minute, it goes back to its regular formatting. So now you've got to cycle through those settings to get to that setting. And in this case, it's not the case. It remains in perpetuity, remains at that other setting until you take it out. Is that correct?
Basically, until either that battery loses connection or until it goes dead. And you're absolutely right. I mean, we get it. There are lights on the market that do not have a memory setting, which you're going to have to adjust to that optimal level every single time.
Yeah.
Especially if you're in a work-related environment where you're using the light, 10, dozens of times on the hour, and you don't want something that you have to continue to switch back to the right level.
Yeah.
You want something that's going to stay there. And like I said, this will do it until the connection to the battery is broken by removing it, or if it goes completely dead.
Very interesting. Now this is a prototype, or still prototype stage, but do you have a rough idea of approximately what MSRP might be?
I do not. Not at this point.
No worries. Yeah. To be announced at a later time.
Exactly.
Okay. And there may be some refinement that will happen with this light afterwards.
Sure.
May I again? Now the red LED, just kind of tossing it around. I just like to know if something will, inadvertently come on, and it's not.
It should. Now it should take about a 2-second press for that red LED to come on its own, to come on with that button.
Okay. So just brief bouncing around, say in your bag or rolling around on the floor, you're whatever surface it might be rolling around on, because it's moving, is not going to activate that. You have to have at least the 2 seconds. Excellent, very nice. And the weight is very nominal.
And this is a removable, and this is a much more robust pocket clip than what you typically find with the little removables that go on the cylindrical barrel flashlights. So the design itself, it's actually really easy to carry. And it's really easy for me to hold and operate in the palm of my hand. So something at this size, you know, it really surprised me. The design was different, wasn't sure what to expect, but it really has grown on me. It's very easy to operate, very easy to carry, very easy to hold.
Power source is what?
This is an 18650.
So replaceable in the field.
Yes.
Carry several in your bag and rotate them out as you burn through them.
Correct.
Yeah. And it looks like we've got a weapons mount light.
Well, that's actually just one of the new. That's a new holster. This is going to be a new locking swivel holster. This is the NTH25 from Nightcore. So this will be adjustable locking holster as well. This little latch here can actually lock the light in place to allow it to not be able to be removed and so forth.
Like if it hangs up on something from your gear, it's not going to be ripped out without the, like a lock, like on a holster lock.
And the locking belt lock as well.
Okay, yeah, like a check lock. Yeah, very good. Outstanding. Well, that's very. I'll tell you what, Andrew. That's a. Do you know what MSRP would be on the holster?
The holster? No, not yet.
Probably
These
not.
are all pre-released.
Okay, so this is also prototype stage as well.
And the light I'm about to show you as well is the Nightcore P22. So again, this is in pre-production. And you can see by the shape, it is a very recognized traditional shape. The Nightcore P20 and P20 UV carry this shape, and we've upped the ante with the P22, so it is now capable of 1800 lumens of output versus the 800 that the P20 that came out many years ago and is still a great flashlight.
Performance just improves exponentially.
Sure.
We've got a bit of a deep a reflector, so this is going to be more of a thrower, is what they call it. But it does function pretty well as an area light too. Yeah.
So this has 4 outputs, and it has a strobe ready capability, Nightcore strobe ready tail cap. And I think one thing that people will notice is that the strobe ready tail cap has a redesign. The old strobe ready tail cap used to be, what's the right word, Stu? It was raised, you know, it was raised above the...
It wasn't flush with the
exactly.
tail. Yeah.
Which still very reliable, but there's still the possibility of it getting hung up on your clothes, depending on how you had it, if you had it in your pocket, or whether or not you had it holstered. There was still a possibility that that could get hung up on something. And now you can see that the mode switch is actually flush mounted with the tail cap itself. Still very easy to access and press that strobe ready at any time. Also serving as your mode button change when the light is on. Again, powered by standard 18650. Now this one at 1800 lumens, just like any of the 1800 lumen flashlights from Nightcore, they do need a high drain, high performance lithium ion 18650 that's capable of a discharge of at least 8 amps. So the older batteries that are 18650 will not work. Typically when they try to access that turbo mode, the light is going to recognize something's wrong, circuitry is going to shut it down, and you won't be able to turn the light off until you remove it. So it's important when you're using any of the 1800 lumen lights from Nightcore to make sure that you have a high drain battery that's capable of at least 8 amps of discharge.
Right, and that's pretty uniform in the industry, isn't it? I mean, when they have the companies that have that turbo mode or that really super high mode, if you don't have the right battery, it's not going to be able to access that mode.
Correct. Yeah. And the batteries are backwards compatible, so if you've got older lights, they're not going to hurt or damage those lights, but they allow the full range of outputs in the newer lights using the newer LEDs to enable them to reach the full 1800 lumens of output.
Outstanding. Do we have any rough estimate on MSRP on this?
We do not have MSRP, but target release date is going to be April of 2019.
Okay, so just within a few months.
Sure.
Very good. Well, Andrew, it's been an absolute pleasure to meet you and to share the discussion with the flashlights from Nightcore.
Absolutely, Stu.
You have a very good trip back home, and enjoy.
Austin, Texas.
Austin, Texas. Thank you.